Think Africa is a non-profit and non-governmental organization that was founded in 2014, and it was started by a group of students who were moved to make a change and break the stereotypes that, especially in Finland, Finnish society had of Africa and of African people, as well as support the integration of the African diaspora into the Finnish society. And much of these principles, these founding principles, still drive Think Africa today. And Think Africa's mission or activities, I would say, focus on two aspects. On one hand, we focus on empowering the African diaspora in Finland and hopefully even wider as we go along. And with the empowerment, we focus on activities that share essential information, that encourage networking, that provide a space where the members and the African immigrants can discuss well-being topics, activities that focus on economic development, as well as perhaps even our strength is that we create a platform where our members and the African immigrants can get to utilize their skills and as well as pursue their interests. Think Africa's vision is to create a platform where members and African immigrants can come and fulfill their potential. And another aspect to what Think Africa does is that we do think about Africa. We do want to take part in its development and growth. And with this, we have activities that where we collaborate with companies who are or with companies or organizations that are involved or doing activities on the continent. And we collaborate and also take part in development there as well, and carry out projects that support the growth of, especially maybe startups. We have been focusing on that, but also we want to do more in that area. And a lot of these activities we do throughout the year, but it's mostly during our annual flagship event, Think Africa Week, where these two aspects get to combine, and we have the biggest Africa and Africa diaspora inspired gathering in Finland during Think Africa Week, usually in November every year. I would say the biggest achievement so far of Think Africa is managing to create a platform which celebrates its diversity and actually is strengthened by its diversity. We have, first, Africa itself is a very diverse continent with different countries, different tribes, different languages. And we have also many in the who are non-Africans, who are somehow connected or moved by Africa or African people. And we have managed to create a platform where all these actors and stakeholders and people, individuals can come together and have a space to share, work together, collaborate. And I think that's one of the strengths or the biggest achievement, having such a platform that is accepting of everybody working together towards one mission. The only requirement to become a member of Think Africa is that you are moved by our mission and want to make a positive change in your society. Go to our website www.thinkafrica.fi, click the Join Us button, pay the annual membership fee, and the Think Africa family awaits to welcome you. The heritage we share. James Baldwin is alert to the absurdity of being a writer from New York who is considered inferior by Swiss villagers, many of whom have never traveled. Migrant. The choice of appellation is full of information. Immigrant. It is as though another human being could never attain full humanity in the gaze of other humans. The accident of geography that accompanies your birth, or that of your parents, is forever of consequence when your humanity, or your expression of it, is in discussion. Otherness. It confers the authority to determine your essence, and often what you may aspire to, using simple and crude techniques, such as a misinterpretation of numbers, to pretend to present facts. What can be said at all can be said clearly, and whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. Superiority is often communicated most pleasantly. It is the disguised kindness in the hearts of fellow human beings. It is the feigned sympathy on the tongue of a colleague at work. It is the writing of another's story with audacity as if you have lived their life, and therefore you have authority over their experience and reality. This is who you are, and surely this is how you must be helped. Superiority is often communicated as audacity. Figures often beguile me, particularly when I have the arranging of them myself, in which case the remark attributed to Disraeli would often apply with justice and force. There are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. The human capacity for innovation is unparalleled. An innovative overhead reservoir is supported by a single frame of reinforced concrete. A disguised untruth can be the main frame for the innovative construction of many more untruths. There is the thing about untruths, though. They do not stand up to scrutiny very much. There is a place and time for untruth, where everyone involved is welcome, perhaps even encouraged, to suspend disbelief. There is the cinema, there is fantasy and fiction. Untruths have no place in matters that deal with the reality and destiny of fellow human beings. Untruths have no place in a think tank. One is compelled to wonder what sort of thinking goes on in that tank. There's that great proverb that until the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Often enough, the story demonizes the lion in a bid to justify the hunter's authority. The hunter is justified in his hunt because of something in the lion, perhaps its nature, or what the numbers can be said to prove, no matter how remotely or untruthfully. But you see, numbers are a strange thing. Numbers can be, and have been, interpreted to pretend to prove a preconceived point. It seems sensible that to write the story of or about a people, regardless of who they are, it is imperative to consult these people. One ought to be careful about making conclusions concerning something that one has no lived experience of. The 20th century was very bloody indeed. It presented us with some of the greatest events in the achievement of destruction. It presented the First and Second World Wars, the Cold War, and colonization, to mention a few. This achievement of destruction that was not bounded to property and the touchable, but it was extended to the intangible and immaterial, the soul of mankind. Many echoes of the catastrophes of that era ring to our modern time. Undoubtedly, it has and will require an immeasurable amount of dedication to undo the badness meted out to humanity from humanity. The 20th century was very constructive indeed. It presented us with some of the greatest feats in the achievement of ingenuity. It presented space exploration, the internet, decolonization, and human rights, to mention a few. These feats were not limited to property and engineering. They also extend to the immaterial and intangible, the soul of mankind. Many echoes of the triumphs of that era ring to our modern time. An unreckonable amount of work has been put into maintaining the victories of the past and guarding against the repetition of the mistakes of it. The modern world welcomed the first women members of parliament in Finland in the 20th century. Finland has always been a leader in the discussion of the rights of women, not only to vote and be voted for, but also to self-determine. We stand on the shoulders of legendary Finnish women who thought bravely that it was nonsensical to endeavor to determine what they each ought or ought not to do with their lives. We are internally proud of these women. They affirm that they and only they can decide what they considered worthwhile. If they considered standing for parliamentary election worthwhile, so it was. If they considered studying engineering worthwhile, so it was. And if they considered getting married and raising children worthwhile, so it was. And so it is. The 20th century was very constructive indeed. Following this example, a nation has been fashioned that is worthy of immense emulation. A nation has been created that champions the rights of women to self-determination on a global stage. Therefore, at what point and for what reason shall any woman be stripped of this presumably innate right? The accident of geography at birth? Gender? Complexion? This is the question that is on the table. Should we betray the brave women of the past by attempting to strip today's women of their understanding of what they ought to do? Securing the future is no mean feat. Many consider raising children as the single most important thing that they will do. It is an all-important work. It is astonishing that anyone, regardless of intent, would consider this not work enough. Stop raising children. It is not important enough. Go and get a real job. It is a staggering claim. This matter is still open for consideration. An invitation is extended to you, the listener, to ponder these things. Shall we lazily tell the stories of others without regard to what they say about themselves? Shall we paint people with a broad brush and confine them to predetermined cabinets? Shall we name some women with a moniker and proceed to declare them unworthy of the ideals of self-determination to which we aspire? Does this help to create a more just and fair nation? Is this the Finland that we want now and in the future? In their final analysis, our answers reflect our ideals, and our ideals make us worthy or unworthy of emulation.
We welcome you to Think Africa Week 2021. Today is the last and final day. We thank you for hanging out with us all through the week. And as we go into the event for today, we hope that you would be more present and enjoy every bit of it. We sincerely apologize for starting a little bit late. We really do want to break that that tag that has been given to Africans for always starting everything late. We really want to break that, so we apologize for starting behind schedule. So, today is Fitness Day. We are going to talk about food, we'll talk about health and well-being, we'll talk about how your food affects your mood, how your food affects your body, why it's important to move, and disregard, or no, not disregard, but, you know, try not to make the cold weather keep you indoors. Move your feet, move your body, and because today is Fitness Day, I would humbly ask you to stand up and do a little bit of movement with your body, like shake it down, shake it down, shake it down. Don't mind there's no music, but you have music in your body, so shake it. Shake it a little bit. Yeah, that's it. Shake it a little bit faster. A little bit faster. Yes, a little bit faster. You can move your hands up a little bit. Yes, that's right. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you. Please sit back down. So I will quickly run down our schedule for today. We have a keynote speech by Everest. He's somewhere there. We have a keynote speech by Everest, and then we have a dance performance by Godi. And then thereafter that, we have a panel discussion, Move, Think, and Eat to Live Well, moderated by Everest. And after that, a little bit of networking. And then we come to the close of the event. We hope that we'll be able to finish before 7 o'clock. But if we don't, we hope that you enjoy your time here as well. So, if Mr. Everest is here, please. Is Everest here? Okay. Mr. Everest is busy somewhere. All right. Is Mr. Cody here? Cody? He's backstage. Uh-huh. Okay. While we are waiting for Mr. Everest and Cody to get ready, I think we can do something a little bit to relieve the awkwardness of waiting for them without nothing on stage. So I'm going to put a few people on the spot. Please forgive me for doing that. We are just rolling by the ear here. Yes. Please, could you come on stage? I would like you to share with us what you've learned for the week. This way. Everest can get ready while you just share with us. Thank you. This way. Huh? No, I think she's finding her way up the stairs. Yeah. Okay. Let's give her a round of applause, please. It's not easy to be here. It's not easy to stand up here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please share with us.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the full event because I live in Tallinn, but I was here for the opening ceremony and then the ceremony as well. And the opening ceremony was really eventful, especially the performances we had and the exhibition. I think you were also part of them, displaying her wonderful items for sale as well. And I think it's an amazing way for the diaspora to come together and have fun and connect and network. So yeah, definitely next year I will be present as well, and hopefully for the whole event.
Yeah, it was really, really, really awesome that day. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Well,
was
thank
nice.
you very much for sharing. We appreciate you. All right, Mr. Everest is here. Mr. Everest, if you're ready, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Good, good. It's good to have all of you here. Okay. Yes, before we get started fully, I just want to share a story. And it's a personal story, which I believe in some ways it will give some kind of a different view to how we see what it means to be healthy, what it means to cater for our well-being. But I want you guys to make a promise to me, and that promise is that you will not make me feel bad here, because the story is a sad story, and when I share a personal story that is sad, I don't want the mood to look sad. I don't want people to remind me of the sadness behind the story. So don't feel sad, but rather see your own story through this particular story of mine. Some many, many years ago, when I was just a little boy, I didn't know what it means when you say somebody died. The understanding of death was not something that I could conceive as a person. And then, at that particular time, my dad passed away, and my mom tried to tell me that my dad is gone. And it wasn't an easy moment for her to be telling a child who doesn't understand what it means for someone to die. And so my mom tried and tried, but I couldn't understand what it means. And the only vivid memory that I have of my father, which is very sad, is when he was about to be buried. He was there in the casket, and I was wondering, why on earth will he be lying down there? Every other human beings are moving around somehow, which is a very sad one, but that sad story didn't end there. 6 years later, my mom passed away. And at that time, I understood already what it means for someone to die, because over the period of 6, 7 years, I am now starting to understand what it means when they say somebody passed away, because I no longer see my dad. And that shock of my mom passing away made me understood what my mom was trying to explain to me when my dad passed away. But it is not, my story here is not to concentrate on the death of my parents, but the deep psychological wound that he left in me. Sometimes we relate to human health in a more physical form than the psychological wound that we go about carrying around. When somebody has an injury in the leg, somebody will just say, oh, you have an injury. Oh, sorry, what happened? What happened? They can easily say and ask you what happened to you. But in my case, nobody could see my wound. Nobody then better, because they couldn't see the wound, they don't ask, what is the problem? But as time goes on, I was moved to live with different family members, and that experience itself was very sad. But then, what I found in myself was that I started to withdraw from society, because my mom was somehow the leeway in which I interact with the world around me at that time. And now, all of a sudden, she's gone, so I withdraw, and I start to withdraw. I will go to gatherings where other kids, youngsters are jumping around, playing, doing things. I just could not participate because I was still in the shock. And that wound continues until, maybe when I was about 25. One day I realized that I am not able to interact and socialize with people. Often when I'm in a gathering, I sit down, keep quiet, deep there in my thoughts, trying to make a sense of the world around me. And I never cared to mingle with people either because I have grown up all by myself. I have learned to live all by myself. I have learned to understand that when I need something, I just have to go out there and do it myself because I don't have a mother, I don't have a father who is going to provide that options for me. So I have to do it myself. And I remember going to secondary school, and after school, I would go to work after the school to get something. But the story that I'm trying to tell here is not the story of the passing away of my parents. The story is how many of us go about carrying psychological wounds that we ourselves are not aware of. That is the story. Every one of us seated here today, somehow there has been some engagement in life, in your experience of life. You might have had some shock, you might have had something that left you with some wound. The ultimate thing here is not the wound itself. It's your own realization. It's your own awareness of that wound, that you have a wound inside of you that needs healings. In the normal circumstances, when you have a physical wound, you know, and you try to do something. You go to the doctor, you go to the hospital to get treatment. But when you have a psychological wound, when you have a mental wound, often you go about without realizing it. So therefore, you don't even seek help. You don't even seek healing. And that is what I want every one of us to take from this story. It is sad, but it's a sweet story because I have come to understand myself better when I understood that I have a wound inside, that I have a void inside. That made me to understand myself better. It made me understand when I keep quiet, the reason behind my quietness is not because I cannot speak. It's because I am not used to just talking in an interaction or having interaction with people like that. So, few things that I learned from this story that I would like to share with all of you. I think you will get something from this. You know, often when people approach you and they say, "Oh, you look so sad. What is the matter?" And you try to shake it off and pretend, "I'm okay, I'm fine." That is one of the, what I call the escape route to when people are feeling sad, actually, because they don't want to admit to that fact. And what I learned from my own story is that the energy you feel inside is what gives life to your daily experience. And that's what people around you identify with the most. If you feel sad, it's a form of energy that is giving life to your daily experience. As you go out, maybe you're sad, you carry that sadness with you. Just like a wound, physical wound, you carry it with you. And then another thing that I also come to understand from that is that the body, you know, including the psychological structure, is not just yours until you have some kind of control over it. It means that when you are sad, when you're feeling bad, your body is hurting, and then you feel like, "Oh, I can't do anything." When you lose that control, that body is no longer yours. So it's only that moment when you take that control that it becomes yours. And then another thing that I learned from that is that because of your experience, you might end up building what I call walls of self-preservation. If somebody hurts you, you start building walls of self-preservation. But that wall of self-preservation, as time goes on, becomes wall of self-imprisonment. Because you have managed to build a wall around yourself, you are now in the prison, and the only way you operate and engage with the outside world is through that wall. It's a prison. And somehow, it's only when you venture to come out of that, what I call self-imprisonment, that you actually see and see the world beyond your own imagination. And then, just to add a bit more joke to this story, often people talk about happiness. What is happiness? And as we are all seated here, if you're still wondering what happiness is, one easy answer to that is Finland is happiness. You agree to that? You've all read the research. You've all read the publication that we live in the happiest place of this world. But the joke to that is basically it means that happiness itself is boundless. You don't have to contain it. It's infinite. There's no limits to it. And in that experience of boundless of life, you will learn to respond to life with more vitality. It means that responding to life with more vitality, basically, little subtle behaviors, engagement with people, brings more vitality to your life. And I would like to cut this short and leave the stage so that other people can proceed by basically throwing a question of challenge to everyone that when you think about well-being, don't think of your individual self alone. Well-being is also about checking about others. It's also about seeing how others are doing. How are you today? Are you fine? You're looking good? Even a little pat on the back, a little hug, is already a well-being initiative. When you engage with people in this manner, I can tell you that even inside of your very self, you will feel better. So thank you very much.
Another round of applause for Mr. Everest, please. That was very inspiring. I mean, it's always very valuable to remind ourselves that we can have more deeper wounds than flesh wound, and that it's okay to step back, reevaluate, realize what that wound is, and figure out a way to solve it and move on. So thank you very much, Mr. Everest, for reminding us about that. Behind the stage, we have a few refreshments. So if you would like to have something to eat while the event is going on, please go behind the stage and get something. Thank you very much. Next, we have Mr. Cody for the dance performance. Is Mr. Cody here? Mr. Cody? Yes, he's geared up and ready for us. Please, your hands. Thank you.
na yo ko tiene se kani di bane nyarogola. Otieno na la mwaka piera boro gabirio e otieno ringo edipo. Nemba kogola jengwa na nega longo kotieno kaiwa kodiero javer. Anyarere otieno kayogo. Alongo kogola tine yo agna di nyanjo kwang. Aywa kotiena minga e otieno kegombe. Alongo kogola jengwa na nega demba kotieno kegwato. Ndale Majanga kola yo kotiena minga na di nyarogola yo tieno koringo di ponyarolo. Anwango ambo yo maliti na di nyajo kwangboya. Anwango jogi no ka otieno. E jogi no no ambo ko dubura nyakoteri dala yo tieno kanino tero nyarogola ere. Majanga kogola jengi yo no nega dembe kotieno kaigo kodiero giri jower. Alongo kotiena yo kotieno maliti na di nyarongango. Anwango kwat kaisa no ya lokodieko.
Onyolore Otieno, she was born late in the night. Her mother was a proud woman, she walked, Her father was a tough man, he walked, She said, he said, I want my daughter. He said, she said, you go up to be a doctor. She said, he said, I want my daughter. He said, she said, you go up to be a doctor. Aworo went to school in the village, Boro Nursery School, Boro Primary School, in the village, Boro Secondary School. Aworo went to the city, Nairobi University School, Boro Primary School, in the village, Boro Secondary School. Ban piende, ban piende, ban piende, ban piende, ban piende, ban piende, ban piende. Ban piende, ahora oro, en ahora oro, ahora oro, ya ahora oro, ahora oro, en ahora oro, ahora oro, ya ahora oro. Ban piende, to ban piende, to ban piende, wololo, wololo. To school, Aworo went to the city, Aworo went to Nairobi, Aworo she's in the university, Aworo mielo chandogo, but her father wanted a doctorate. She loves her dance floor, but her mother wanted a degree. Aworo brings a degree home, Aworo is a doctorate. Yelele, 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 her parents are too proud. So Aworo dances away, so big Aworo carries the day. Aworo she gets a good pay internationally every day. Yelele, village is too proud. Ban piende, 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 ban piende. Ahora oro, en ahora oro, ahora oro, ya ahora oro, ahora oro, en ahora oro.
Another round of applause, please. That was awesome. So, our next item on the list is the panel discussion. I'll invite our panelists to come on stage. Thank you. I will invite our moderator, Everest, to come on stage, please. A hand, please, while he's coming on stage. Let's keep it lively. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Kingsley Ife. Esther Kiss. Ella Gabrielson. And Jasmine Kakmakshi. Mr. Everest, over to you.
Thank you very much. Please, a big round of applause for the panelists. All right, good, good, good. Once again, connecting with your health through what I call move, think, and eat to live well. In the end, we all want to live well. We all want to live with more joy and more vitality. In this discussion, I organize it in that way that I have a few questions prepared here, which I will ask. And then, in the end, I will also pass over to the audience to throw in one or two questions. So along the line, if you do have some question in mind, you can just put it down so that you won't forget it. All right. Being that Kingsley over here is someone that I know very well, I am having a feeling that I should get started with you.
Oh, please.
Okay, cool. But anyway, yes, when we think about well-being, obviously, we cannot take out the importance of physical fitness and its contribution to our overall well-being. So just to get started, Kingsley, what do you think, basically, how does the body benefit from fitness exercise, just to get started, to open the conversation?
Okay, so first of all, I just want to thank you, Everest, for this great event, and the rest of Think Africa team. It's a great pleasure to be with you all today. This is, for me, an interesting topic, partly because it's something that I am really, really intrinsically drawn to. If you look at everything around us, when you think about technology, the habit that is changing, the culture that is changing, everything that makes us strong, not just physically but mentally, we are just, drifting away from everything like that. And that's the trend. So if you think about the modern society where, you can just sit at your home just with a screw with your phone, your food can even just come to you. So the time to have this kind of discussion can never be better than now. Because once we know better, I believe we do better. And that's how human beings have evolved and get to this stage where we are today. But it's also crucially important to actually take, sometimes take a step back to look at, what it is that actually help your life, if no one else is actually talking about it or actually giving you an information that you need. So just to touch a bit to your question. So when you think about fitness, right, there's just a lot that I can say that actually benefits us when you engage in physical activities. So it can be anything from, increasing your mobility, where you can be able to, feel your body, you can move, you can jump, you can run, you can do a lot of stuff. And even scientifically, if you think about, the fact that by the age of 65, basically, if you don't use, or if you're not engaged in active sort of physical activities, by the time you get to the age of 60, 65, you will lose 80% of your strength and your muscle capability. Just think about that. That itself alone would tell you that you need to engage. You need to continuously, engage in those activities that help your body to revitalize your body, to give you the strength that you need to, to perform your day-to-day activities. Now, physical activities, it strengthens your mental sort of flow. So it gives you clarity in terms of thinking, in terms of, how you respond to things around you, both physically and emotionally. So there's just a whole lot of, different aspects of, importance, or if you like, advantage of even of engaging in physical fitness. And I will encourage anyone. It's not about reps. It's not about push-ups. It's not about how many, kilometers that you can run. It's life. So in that, I'm just saying that there is nothing that is more important than someone who is living both mentally, physically, emotionally responding to everything that is around himself or herself. So it is crucially important that we find a way to engage in these physical activities.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Somehow I can relate to what you're saying from the perspective that sometimes we do have what I call the culture that I don't need fitness, I don't need to go gym, I don't need muscle, but from the view that you've explained from, it's a lifestyle that every little bit of engagement in sport or physical activity is a kind of self-contributing value towards your future. Because when you grow old, the older you become, you find out that you start to feel the energy that you used to feel when you were very young. But you mentioned something very interesting, and you said it also affects the mental well-being. And I will throw my next question to Esther, just to kind of broaden this conversation to the area of mental well-being. What do you think? What is mental well-being, to give us a bit more what I would call agreeable definition to guide the discussion?
Yes, thank you for the question. It's really nice to be here. And I am actually very happy that when this event is organized and when you are talking about about well-being, mental health is also coming up, because I think when we are talking about health, usually we talk about, exactly only from the physical point of view, though it's really much connected together. If you think about when you cry or when you laugh, that's exactly like an emotion coming out in a physical way. So they are very much connected. And at Mieli, we used to say that there is no health without mental health. So it's really great to be here and talk about this part of health. Coming back to the definition point of view, I can give you a very exact definition that was created by WHO, and it says, and actually I first didn't like it, but I think by now. It's a really good one. So it says that mental health is a state of well-being when a person can contribute to the community, work productively, cope with the everyday stress of life, and the last one is my favorite, can realize its own potential and act upon it, right? Because the first three is about just doing everyday stuff, like I work, I have maybe family, friends, I can cope with the stress, which are all very important. But it's more than that. It's also building something. It's also growing as a person. It's also challenging ours and looking for challenges. And it needs a lot of energy. It needs a lot of mental capacity to do that. So mental health is definitely not just going to work, going home, and like doing everyday life. That's very important, but also to go further, like have humor and optimism in the everydays, like finding a meaning in the life, being loved and accepting love and looking for love, expressing emotions. So those are all included in mental health. And yes.
I really liked the view that you've shared, that especially being open to society, because often we take a very, what I call the singular view of ourselves. That when we talk about mental health, we think that it's just about us. Sometimes society functions better when you have people who are mentally stable also, like who are able to make impact that influence the whole general society. So I like that aspect of it. But also you said something about, being able to accept love and also willing to give love. It's very interesting. But then I push my question further to Ella and Jasmine as the conversation look at the notion of well-being from these three different dimensions. Food is one thing that is very important to human existence. So when we talk about well-being, from the nutritional perspective, from the food that we consume, how does food promote health?
Okay, I can start with this one. So we know that calories are food, and food is our fuel. But what are actually calories? So calories include macronutrients,
Can
micronutrients,
you put the mic a bit closer? Yeah.
Vitamins and fiber. And proteins would be, for example, lentils, chicken, eggs, meat. And proteins are very much needed for our skin, to reduce muscle loss, to maintain our normal weight. And then we have carbs that are potatoes, rice, bread, and carbs are needed for our brain, for example, and it's main source of energy for our body. And also there has been studies that lack of carbs can increase stress hormones. Then we have fats, and fats we need for fat-soluble vitamins, also for our hormones and to our healthier cells. And good fats would be oils, seeds, nuts, fish, for example.
And here we had the macronutrients, so let's look a little bit closer to fiber and also the micronutrients. First, fiber. Where can you get fiber? Basically, fiber is included in carbohydrates, and there are certain foods which are higher in fiber. For instance, wheat bran, oats, rye, and then certain fruits. Fiber, first of all, it helps with the bowel movement. If you have high fiber diet, then you are much less likely to have colorectal cancer, for instance. Fiber also makes you feel full, so it helps you maintain healthy weight. It helps you control blood sugar, so you're less likely to get type 2 diabetes. And then also fiber is food for the good gut bacteria. Then, when we're thinking about the vitamins and minerals, every single vitamin and mineral have their own function in the body. Let's take some examples. For instance, vitamin C helps to fight against the free radicals. Vitamin B12 helps to maintain a healthy nervous system. And then vitamin D, it helps with absorption of calcium. Then we have zinc, which actually helps with the production of DNA. So these are like huge things already from the nutrients you're getting, the benefits for the health.
That's very interesting. And because of, first of all, thank you for the response. I just want to quickly throw in another question to you. And that is, one of the struggles that people normally have in society is that, you know, we have this trend of different diets. They will say, oh, such a diet is what is working. Oh, no, it's no longer that one, it's another diet, you know. So if we look at it from this perspective that what is good for one person might not be good for another person. So how do we kind of come to this idea of suitable diets? What is, like, how do we work out a suitable diet to people?
Yeah, I would start with the basics. So first, choose what kind of schedule works for you. Some people prefer to eat 3 times a day, some people 5. Like, we are all different. You just have to find your way. Then after that, I could check my meals, that I do have all those macronutrients, for example, also vegetables and fruits. And so I get all these macros that I need for my body, because all of those have their job. And then I would check that I drink enough of water and start to build from there, step by step. Lately, people have started to avoid many things, for example, bread or gluten, and usually the reason is that they feel bloated. But actually, if you feel bloated, the reason might be something else. So I would check that I am active, so I will move. And then after that, I would check, okay, am I eating something unnecessary? But yeah, that shouldn't be like the first step to check that I'm gonna avoid something. Yeah.
And as Ella said, I mean, this is a very, very important point, that usually in these diets, for instance, let's say keto diet, you completely, or not completely, but you decrease the amount of carbs. But as we said earlier, there is always, like, every single macronutrient and micronutrient have their own job. So have versatile diet, eat basically everything. But if you see that, for instance, wheat is not that good for you, eat a little bit less, but do not just avoid all the carbs, because you need these carbs. For instance, Ella said that it lowers the level of cortisol. This is a stress hormone, so this is already like one factor why to need carbs. And also the fact that brain needs it for the fuel. Also be conscious about the eating, like think about, like, how do I feel about it, what works for me, as Ella also said, and think about eating whole foods, nutrient-dense foods. I think that's quite, those are good, quite like good bases for to go.
Thank you very much for the response. And I really like it from that perspective that even though we have a big pool of food to choose from, in the end of the day, each one have to create its own plate. And you create that plate based on what your body identifies with the most and what is good for your, what I would call digestive system, because these days, people eat different kinds of food and then they realize they have some kind of reaction, or the body doesn't integrate the food properly into their system. But I'll move on with my next question to Esther. One of the things about, or rather one of the struggles that people have with mental health is that they don't often realize that they do struggle from mental health. So how can someone find out that he is having a struggle with mental health issues?
Well, it's not an easy question, but I would actually reach back to the definition of mental health that I just mentioned, because, well, from clinical point of view, we talk about mental illness if you are not capable of maintaining your everyday life. So you can't go to work, you can't work with the kids or whatever. So that's the baseline where you definitely need help. But that's, I guess, already pretty obvious for many of us. But then for many of us, maybe it's not. So depression, for example, can be that a person cannot get out of bed or cannot get there for the kids. And then people might think, oh, he's just bored, he's lazy, or whatever. But it's important that it's not always that. So if someone is like that, then it most likely needs help. So if someone cannot maintain the everyday life, that's already like a reason to ask for help, and that's completely fine. And then I would step a bit more above, and what I just mentioned earlier, that like I think there is that level of life when you are maintaining your life, you're getting out of bed, you work, you get home, you take care of the kids, you do everything, but then you don't have personal goals, you don't have your personal time, you don't have possibility and energy to grow as a person. And I think then again you should think about it. Okay, obviously we all have those like parts of our lives, but like if it's a long time, then it's maybe worth to think about it, like if everything is all right. So I would definitely say that when you have the energy to look for something new, to be curious, that's where you should be. If you are under that for a longer time, I think then it's time to think about like, okay, like maybe you should just talk, like have more time for yourself or talk more with your friends about your problems. But it's also very okay to ask a professional to talk about and figure out what's wrong, because at the end of the day, you could have a really good quality life, so why would you settle for something less?
Interesting. One of the popular notions to that response is what I think they call, what was it, midlife crisis or something like that. You know, you come to a stage where you want to advance and expand, but then you just don't know how to go about it. And you start rumbling around in your head, trying to figure things out to move to the next stage, but it doesn't quite come around, and, you know, so that can be like one of the a sign of kind of a, you know, someone suffering from sort of a mental challenge? Or?
Definitely. And then, of course, there are, okay, so from psychology point of view, there are normative crises in life. For example, midlife crisis, or for example, me moving to a new country was definitely
yes.
a crisis for me, and like I think it's maybe for the most of us. So there are the situational crises, which are a natural point when you stop and think about, okay, where am I with my life and how do I want to redirect? But we can also take this crisis as an opportunity to stop for a second and think about, okay, I have been come this far, where can I go further? And then, of course, there can be unexpected crises like some accidents or a divorce or some sickness or something. That's again something else. But then again, I think when we define when you should notice when something is wrong is then when you can't fully, you can't feel and function in a way that you would like to. And it can be completely normal. And I actually very like your introducing speech, because I do think that sometimes crisis is okay, and sometimes bad feelings are okay, and sometimes that's how you should feel, and then it's really okay to share it with others that, okay, I'm going through something, I'm having a midlife crisis, I'm just a new immigrant here and I'm completely lost. And then, you know, when you reach out, you talk with others, then you can pass it through on your own.
Thank you very much. You know, I think being an immigrant myself, I can tell that some of the crises that I have to put up with is very mentally challenging. But yes, I'll move on. You know, somehow having all these crises, and I'm starting to think, how do I figure things out? How do I manage this crisis and all that? My next question to Kingsley is, in the fitness world, there is what they talk, for example, that, okay, how people should train to achieve like a fitness goal, like to reach a level of being fit. So how should one train, for example, to reach fitness, to reach their physical fitness? It could be, for example, what they call this endurance, strength, and balance, and flexibility. Because how can I train to achieve, for example, or what should I do to achieve maybe endurance or strength, to feel strength inside of me?
Yeah, this is there's a whole lot of things that goes into this, and there is no one specific definition to say, this is how you do it, this is what you must do. So there's a lot of theories around it, but for me, I like to keep everything basic, like just very basic. When I look back to where I came from, the genetics, the way people live, where I came from, food is essential. You just eat what is good, healthy. Healthy food means, eating something that has some nutritional value, right? And shy away, just keep it clean. Eat clean, eat functional, just eat to function. And if you put something bad in your body, no one will tell you, you will know it, right? So, of course, as much as I agree with science, I like to do a lot of experimentation. So, if you want to keep fit through exercise, I think it's a combination of, cardio exercise, cardiovascular exercises, endurance exercises, and a little bit also of, weight training, because you need to keep your muscle strong. You need to make sure that the muscle is able to retain, it's able to function, and the only way you can keep that consistency is actually from time to time try to lift something. You lift some weight and that sort of thing. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I just wanted to say that both Jasmine and Ella, I know you both have a very good, solid background in fitness as well. So if you have something that you want to throw in, you are free to also just quickly chip in. But I want to redirect another question to Kingsley. I feel that, this might kind of bring the discussion to make it more personal. Let's say, for example, I realize that I am weighing 85 kilos, and my fitness target is to reduce that to 75. What should I do to achieve that goal?
Yeah, that's another very important question, and at the same time very massive.
Yeah, it could be the basic, like I'm a novice right now. I just want to see how I achieve that goal.
So basically, I think crucially, I would look at 3 elements to this. If someone come up to me and say, hey, I'm carrying around 10 kilo excess of weight, and I want to get rid of it. So there are 3 things I would consider. Because if we go through all the different aspects and the different elements of how we should go about it, we can't just, 45 minutes wouldn't be enough to unfold this. So the 3 most crucial sort of element that I would think about is time. I will consider time. I will look at, consistency and sustainability. So these 3 aspects. So time and meaning, if you come up to me to say you want to get rid of 10 kilos of excess weight, so I would, first of all, I evaluate how much time you have to do that. So making sure that we set a realistic time. And in order for me to do that, there has to be a lot of discussion around, your current physical weight, your attitude to food, your response to physical activities and all of that. So that will actually give me some kind of understanding of how to actually, look at the program and then, set something. And then, of course, when I talk about sustainability, I'm also looking at, the specifics in terms of the exercises, and again, food. So when we talk about physical activities or being fit or being physically sound, it's not just the physical exercise. It's not just about lifting weight. It's not about just running and doing all of that kind of thing. Food is the most relevant aspect of it. And you can't take that out from the equation. So you eat clean. Me personally, I'm not shy of food, so meaning I eat. But when I eat, I'm aware of what I'm putting into my body. I'm aware of what I'm eating. But most importantly, I look at the nutritional values of things that I'm eating. And that's what has sustained me. And that is what I will actually recommend to anyone. Eat clean. And when they talk, about something that is unhealthy. So food that is not healthy. Let me just define it in simple terms, okay? So oversaturated food, over-processed food, with preservatives, excess sugar. These are unhealthy set of food. And typical example of that is, the burgers that you have around, the fast food joints. These are not something, these are unhealthy stuff. I don't say, my theory is that you can have it, but please don't make that as, a habit, okay? So if you look at the content of those food, you have overprocessed bread, meat, colorants, French fries, all these things are just element of, the nutritional value is almost zero. So why should you, don't do it, right? When I saw the KFC that just came on and people are just lining up and, showing that on their Instagram and stuff like that, and everyone is happy, and I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Because I'm not doing that, and I will never do that, because it has no nutritional value to my life, to my way of functioning, and that sort of thing. Now, let me talk about the sustainability aspect of this. So meaning that whatever physical exercise that I introduce to whoever that want to get rid of excess kilos, I want to make sure that it's consistent. So meaning that it's something that you can manage over time. So when you get rid of 10 kilo, how do you maintain that? So the sustainability, because obviously if you make a plan, an exercise plan that is too vigorous, that is too difficult, there is a chance that someone will not be able to, stick to that over time. But if you make it a little bit easy, with time, the body will adapt to it, it will register in the head, and then it becomes a habit. So that's how my approach looks like. It's basic, it's very simple, and I like it that way.
Good. So a little simple step forward to create a habit that eventually promotes you or basically help you achieve that goal of maybe weight reduction. Let's put it that way. That's interesting. Now I throw over my question to Ella and Jasmine. One of the very notion about food these days, when we talk about eating to promote our well-being, is that there are quite a lot of food supplements. And I'm not talking about supplements that are vital, like vitamin D and vitamin B and those ones, but there are other kinds of supplements everywhere. And also, there are all kinds of, not because that they are processed food, but how can I put food that have been promoted to be very healthy options. So in this context of what I call what is the word again, supplements, how can one navigate all of this to actually identify with what I call real food that are good, that are healthy?
So basically you mentioned the vitamins, and of course, let's think about the supplements. Like we have the vitamins which you're taking as a pill, and if you eat nutrient-dense foods, you do not, in most cases, need any kind of vitamin supplements. Of course, vitamin D, that's an exception, especially here in Finland when it's very dark. For almost 6 months in a year, everyone should basically take vitamin D. But other than that, or if you have like iron deficiency or some kind of vitamin deficiency, that's a whole nother story. But when we're thinking, I guess that you meant like whey protein and all these kind of things. Yes. So since the supplements are not medicine, they are not regulated almost in any way. There was actually a very interesting article in Yle, like maybe 1 week ago, about the supplements, and they dig really deep into this topic. First of all, there is no strong scientific evidence for basically any kind of benefit from supplements, except 5 supplements, which are creatine, nitrate, beta-alanine, caffeine, and baking soda. These 5 have been researched a lot, and these ones actually work. But other than this, because there's no regulation, there were like athletes who had been taking, within a week, basically they took like from 15 up to 20 different supplements, and they were interviewed in this article. So they said that, yeah, but I trust because it's Finnish, or it's like, you know, made in Finland, but many of the ingredient list, they don't tell you the starting place of the ingredients. Plus, there were carcinogenic ingredients and also mold found in the supplements in Finland. I'm not trying to like scare people off about supplements, but the thing is that it's really good to understand that also the nutrients, all of them, also protein, all the macronutrients, they are getting better absorbed by your body from the real food. So maybe we'll throw it. It's better to eat a protein bar than go to KFC. But the thing is that, like, think about the quantity. So how much you eat of this. Like, if you eat 1 or 2 protein bars in a week, it's okay. But if you eat several every single day, if you take whey protein every day, and let's not just think about whey because it's not the only thing, but like in general about the supplements, you can take a little, but think about it. Like also, you have to take into consideration that there are flavorings, like artificial flavorings, like acesulfame K and sucralose and all that, and aspartame. So if you put this in your body every single day, that will also have effects in the long run. So, yeah.
Thank you very much to that response. This question, and I like the way you answered it, because my intention or personal intention for that is actually to clarify that sometimes our quest and need to be fit, to maintain a healthy lifestyle, might push us to what is being projected to us, being promoted to us. And because we lack, you know, the in-depth understanding of what actually is inside of the product that are being sold, we buy it with the good faith that, oh, this is good for my health. And this becomes a big trap. And one of the things that I also experience when I go to gym is that there are quite a lot of people with their protein shake and all kinds of protein, you know, that they take with them. And somehow I kind of like wonder, like, is gym becoming a culture where supplement is part of it, you know? We are slowly kind of like forgetting what it means, what's actually food. Food starts with being natural. That's what food is. The understanding of processed food that we see today came as a result of marketing, and sometimes we cannot distinguish this in the general society when we look at things. But thank you very much for that response. So please, when you go to gym and you are looking for ways to maximize your energy, don't just go jumping into some, you know, protein to feel better. But I'll continue with my questions, and this one goes to Esther. I know that you work in Mieli, which is the Mental Institute of Finland, and based on, you know, on the institute, on your work over there, what would be, like, even from the institute itself, what would be the kind of like the practical examples by which people can improve their mental well-being?
I have to think a tiny bit, because what Mieli does is mental health promotion and awareness, and as a part of that, we have different posters designed in the topic. And there are two posters coming up in my mind, and I was just thinking which one to mention, but maybe I will go with one, which is called The Hand of Mental Health, where it has like 5 different aspects what you can do and like in the everydays to improve your mental health. And that is like physical exercise, which we are pretty much covering, and then eating, which again we're pretty much covering. And then there are sleeping, which I'm not sure if will be mentioned, but it's just a really important part from physical aspect. And then it's really interesting again just to connect that when we are talking about mental health, actually 3 out of the 5 is connected to physical health. So of course you have to be fine first. And then the second, like the other 2 is like social relationships and creativity. And then with creativity we come back to again the same thing, that like to be able to grow, to be curious, that's one thing, and then, you know, to create something, and that it of course can be like literally painting or dancing or reading or writing or whatever, but it also can be, you know, like everyday things at home, like cooking a nice meal, for example, or like at work having a meaning. And then social relationships, I think I don't have to explain it a lot, but I would like to put a big emphasis on that, because I think mainly in Finland, like people tend to be a bit more distant, or at least that's my understanding so far. And so like humans are social creatures, and it has like the sense of belonging somewhere is a very important need of ours, and like having good social relationships. And when I talk about good social relationships, I'm not talking about how many likes we get on Facebook or on other social media, but like, do I have a person who I can share my day with, you know, that, hey, I had a really good day, I had a small success at work, or hey, I had a really bad day because I missed the bus, like I got soaked somewhere, and then even my boss was mean with me, and like, so can we share these small moments of life with someone, like truly? Can we say to someone that, hey, I would need a bit of help, can I call you, because, you know, I just don't feel like it. So I think those things, and I would add a 6th, which is just take your time for yourself, because I think it's not that obvious, mainly when you are a really busy person with work or with family or with whatever, that like take a moment when just you are with yourself and you can connect with how you feel, and like be in silence and just not to do anything for anyone but for yourself. So those little moments in the everyday life are also very important.
Thank you very much for your response. I remember just before, maybe, I can't tell specifically how many years ago, but I remember that there used to be a study that was based on different, they use a different method to come up with the title of the happiest nation in the world. And I remember Nigeria won it, and I was like, wow, this is very interesting. You know, being in Nigeria is such a good feeling that Nigeria was known as the, you know, world happiest country before Finland, before this different kinds of research were carried out. But the point that I wanted to raise there is the outcome, the things that they analyze, and they find out that social connection, social interaction is very, very important to our overall well-being, but also it promotes happiness from within. And one thing they mentioned, at which you also stressed here, is that that in Nigeria, that people share their problem with everyone around. That, you know, even when you don't have, and that's the interesting key part which I actually wanted to bring forth here, is that even when you don't have, you don't worry that you don't have, because anyone around you who have, you will be willing to go and ask, and he will be willing to share with you. So sometimes those of us, I mean us who come from a country like that, and of course those of us who've been born and raised here, we sometimes take, we find too much indulgence in this hard form of individuality that, we don't even dare to ask for help. To ask for help is actually, it's a generous request, because only when you are able to ask for help is also when you can be open to giving. Because if you sit down alone and you say, I can do it all by myself, when somebody comes to ask for you, start to look, why are you disturbing me? Like, why can't you just do this yourself? So it's very interesting, and I really appreciate that contribution. And you talk about exercise, which is also interesting, and I will quickly dash this to Kingsley. What would you say about, exercise, having impact or affecting mental health?
Well, it's a great deal because, when we move, when we interact, like she said, Esther mentioned, the social aspect of things. We're human beings, we're social animals. We want to interact, we want to engage. So exercise is, or physical or mental well-being is just, it's more than, again, lifting weights and doing drills. There's so many elements, there's so many things that goes into that. So social activity, the kind of, emotional sort of reaction that you respond to, the things that is around you, all these things, contribute to how you feel mentally and how you feel in overall well-being. So I think it's crucially important for us to know that the social aspect of well-being is very, very important. Of course, if you think about fitness, when you do like train alone, there is also some certain level of energy you maintain at that zone. And then when you are training or doing something with people, not just the training, right? There are also some certain level of mental, sort of energy frequency that you attain during those processes. I remember when I was training in the UK, and then of course the group of people that I train, they are mainly women, young mothers, of course, people from different backgrounds and stuff like that. The energy that I receive from them also is quite different from how it is, if I'm just maybe training one-on-one here, or we're in group, or probably maybe me and Everest is training. So all these different, little element of beat and beat and beat is actually make up the whole big picture of how we feel about ourselves, mentally and physically.
Thank you very much. I just, some maybe weeks ago, I listened to a TED Talk where a neuroscientist, as they are called, who research so much about brain waves and brain activities. And they try to research the impact of physical exercise on the brain. And what they found out was that actually physical exercise is one of the most transformative things that affects the brain. And the area of the brain that it affects is that areas that help us to feel enjoyment, to feel happy. So when I just looked at it, then I also looked back that personally myself, when I have been, sometimes low, exercise helped me, it kind of like helped me to escape that low mood. But one other thing I would like to actually add to this is the importance of training together with people, because when you are in a group doing a particular exercise, there is one thing, at least for me, I don't know about all of you, but I know one thing, that I am motivated when I see that there is somebody there, he seems to be doing way better, and can I fail myself and not push myself hard as him or her, So that kind of, even this interaction happens individually in my head, but it motivates me to do better. It motivates me to take that extra effort. So bringing that social element into exercise is something that is very, very impactful, but it also creates that feeling of belonging. And then just to add a little bit to that is that I like the nature a lot. And most people who know me very well, they know that I spend a lot of time in the nature. And one thing that I found is that, in response to mental well-being, is that when I go to the nature and I'm in the forest or in a place where there's a lot of body of water, like coastal environment, it does help me to organize my thoughts better and get better clarity. But more so, it gives me a different mood, like it enhances what I call the attention capability of myself. That when somebody else talks to me, I'm able to give full attention when I come back from there. So quickly, I know I don't have so much time here, but I just wanted to go back to the mental aspect of well-being. And I will throw a question to Esther. Unfortunately, I've been coming to you quite often. For example, if I have, let's say, depression, I hope I won't. Let's say I have a depression. How do I go about seeking help? Where can I go seek help? For example, here in Finland.
Yes, so there are many ways. And the first one, which is maybe not the easiest one, but it can also be a good step, is like you can go to the terveyskeskus and book an appointment, and then you can talk there with a nurse. And if you get approved for psychological therapy, the Kela can actually support your therapy with some amount. And then they can also assign you a psychotherapist or a psychologist. But I must say that unfortunately at the moment this process is very lengthy, because first you talk with a nurse, then you talk with someone else, and then if it's not a crisis, then you wait a lot, and then you have some checkups, and then if you don't have Kela, then of course it's very expensive. If you have Kela, it still costs some money, and then so it's not easy. But I would say that I would try that first, because first of all, if you are in crisis, the process will be way faster. So they really prioritize those cases, and then you can get help fast. If you are not in crisis, then yes, the process is lengthy, but theoretically you can wait for it. So it's not ideal, but this is one way. And then Mieli has actually a crisis phone line, which you can call. And also there is an SOS center, which means that they can, until you are waiting, for example, for your terveyskeskus to get in the system properly, you can get up to 5 sessions for free with a professional. This is called also crisis help or crisis center or whatever. But what is crisis is defined by you, and I think this is not a very fortunate name, because then you feel, oh, am I in crisis? It's a bit scary, and then, okay, but I can get out of bed, so it's not that bad or something. But actually, Mieli doesn't define crisis, you can define. So if you are in a divorce and you are feeling bad, you just lost your job, you, I don't know, had a fight with your spouse, or you don't know how to go on, it also can be a crisis. So like with any kind of question, you can actually contact them, and then they can at least direct you further. And what I would also mention is that for me, at least, it works that you can contact someone maybe from your home country and have online help, because sometimes like having therapy or having help on your own language can actually be very beneficial. Though I would say that if you have really depression and maybe you or any kind of problem that might need hospitalization or medication or something, of course, online therapy from your own country won't be able to do that. So you do that when, like, you feel that alone will help. If you feel it's not alone, it will help, then you definitely go through the Finnish system, I would say.
Thank you very much. it's not easy then to seek help with those kind of
Unfortunately
explanations, but somehow one have to seek help. Yes.
Sorry, just one more thing came up in my mind, that actually the psychologists, the foreign psychologists are forming an RU, and they are trying to bring their services closer to those who are not native Finns, because native help is an important question. So there are things moving on in the question, but yeah, unfortunately there is still a lot to work on.
Thank you very much. And I know we're kind of, the clock is ticking very fast, but I thought I'd quickly kind of ask this one more question to kind of like bring the conversation a bit more closer together. And it's a nutritionist question. Is there a way that we can eat certain food that will make us feel better mentally?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there is no specific food which will make you feel better mentally, but I think that all the things in nutrition-wise, what we have been covering, are kind of bringing you to that state. Because if you feed good food to your body, what also Kingsley said was that you will feel it. And when your body feels good, I mean, your body is also your brain, and that's where all these mental problems also come from. So if you feed good, nutrient-dense foods to your body, then you will also feel better. No, so basically I would say that all the real foods, whole foods, cook at home, know what you're eating, and really pay attention to that. Also, I would like to add the social aspect. So eat with people you like, and go out, or maybe you can cook together, even better, because then you would also know exactly what you're eating.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much. I think I actually like that, cooking together, because I think cooking together bring social element into food, and then also even when you share it and eat together, it does actually promote your well-being, at least if not for the long run. For that immediate moment, there should be a positive impact. But I want to thank all of you, starting from Kingsley, Ify, and then Esther, Ella, and Jasmine. Please give a round of a big, oh, sorry, not yet, I forgot. I said I would throw a moment for the audience to ask questions, and I almost forgot. I'm so sorry about that. Before we round up, quickly, I turn to the audience, and this is your turn to throw in one or two questions. Yes. I would take him first, and then you next. Bert.
Yeah, thanks for that wonderful talk. I'm just asking, sometimes when you go to the toilet, you release a lot of stuff that the body doesn't need. Can you use that as an indication that you're eating too much?
Not necessarily. There are certain foods which are not digested. Basically, when we're coming to fiber, for instance, there is insoluble fiber. And when we're thinking about insoluble fiber, there are no calories. Of course, there are some calories, but the body does not use them. So what's the job of insoluble fiber is to help with this bowel movement. So you will notice that the more fiber you eat, the more to the toilet you will go, basically. So I think that's not an indication that you're eating too much, but you're eating foods which the body is not able to digest. But of course, if these are not let's say, fibrous foods, then there might be an issue with the digestion of your bowel.
All right, thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, thank you for the discussion. I actually have a question for nutrition, mental, and the physical side of it. So, what would be do you have a personal advice or a mental model you would recommend? How I can do a sanity check to myself, and how can I kind of promote a healthy routine?
Maybe I start first, make it quick and fast. So there is 5 pillars to my own approach, which I will recommend to you, which includes, first of all, the diet, the sleep, which is, is incredibly important. The psychology, the social aspect of thing that we're covering a lot also. And then so there's also spiritual aspect to this, where the kind of things that you can relate to, that whether it is meditation, whether it is praying, it's also important. But more than any other thing, the psychological aspect of thing. Because I say psychology because if you love yourself, right, you treat it as such. It's so important, and that's the area that I truly focus all my activities. If you look at people that have been in sports for, let's say, very active participant of sports, as soon as they end their career, give them just 1-2 years, you see them, you won't recognize them. So, but there are different aspects of things that you can tap into that will keep you not just physically fit, but psychologically, you can actually make it an attitude or a way of life that will sustain you over a long period of time. You look at someone like Zinedine Zidane, for an example. This guy, he performed at a very, very elite level. He's still fit. He trains still with the group with the team that he manages. The psychological aspect of things is just everything. So just remember that you need to treat yourself right. And once you treat your body right, and once you're conscious of that, that also will just guide the rest of the things that you will engage in. Whether it is the kind of food you are going to eat, whether it's the friends, which is the social aspect, the friends that you have around you, because all those kind of things count. If you are, for example, if you have a partner or you have a friend that, they're drinking beer every time, or it's an habit for them, there is chance that you might be doing that. Or if you're just the one that is being active, trying to live a clean life and all that kind of thing, they might sway you to, do what they are doing. So the psychological aspect is so important. And the people that I try to train, when they come to me, for example, and say they want to build muscle and stuff like that, even when there is money there, I'm not really interested. Of course, I know I can make money. There was one case where, someone was talking to me, a client, obviously, and I was telling to Ella, because he wants to build muscle, but I'm not in that sort of, it doesn't mean that I don't, do weight training, but I said, Ella, can you take care of this client? Because it's a different approach. So the psychology of things and knowing why you're doing it, because once you commit, right, everyone has the desire to do something better, to live better, to have better physique, to have good body and all that kind of thing. But not a lot of people have what it takes to go beyond and the willpower to actually keep and maintain that process. So, if that makes sense.
I will just quickly add, you asked about the routines. Just do more than nothing. Even one single routine, for instance, eating one fruit instead of 0, usually people think that, eating, not eating healthy, but living healthy is very difficult. It actually is not. But when you start, you have a lot of things which you should maybe change. Don't think about changing them all like this, because what we want lifestyle changes. We want changes which carry on until you literally die. So if you're starting from not doing many good things to yourself, start with one good thing. And when you do one good thing, even in a week, after a year, you have 52 good things.
Esther, you want to respond? Or?
Yes, sorry. What was the question in this direction? Well, I think when it comes to how to build a better mental health, I think it starts with connecting with yourself and like not being afraid of asking questions and answering those questions. Because I think many people are not asking crucial questions because they are afraid of might they find out as an answer. So I think it starts then that like, I dare to be quiet. I dare to go to the toilet without my phone. I dare to fall asleep without the TV. But I dare to be in quiet and ask questions from myself. And when I find something scary, it's completely fine. You can have people around you to share it with. Hey, oh my God, I just thought, I think this or did this, or like, am I like this? And then, you know, your friends or your family can be, for example, a good sanity check. If you find something, or you can ask them that, hey, what do you think? Am I like this or that? Like, actually, my partner can just tell that sometimes I'm just laying in bed and I asked at 10 p.m. maybe from him, that, hey, what do you think? What kind of person I am? And he was like, he is really a tough guy, so he answered the question. But like, so I think your family around and friends can really help you out that. And they can also be there if you find something that you don't like, because we all have something. Of course, I also had some stuff that I was not. So I think there. And of course, if you feel like, then you can also go to a professional to help you further. But that, I think I would start somewhere there.
Thank you very much for that response. Yes.
Torture.
If I may answer the question, I will try to be quick because I know we are running out of time. But first of all, I would like to say big respect for doing the work you are doing, because it's really a beautiful and a super hard one. And to be very honest, I'm not the right person to answer your question, because I left psychological therapy because of that. I was working with homeless people and I didn't figure out the answer myself. But what I could say that I think, for example, rituals can maybe help. So if you have a ritual before you go to work or after you come to work, you always do somehow the same, maybe even physical thing, or mental, or whatever works for you, just to transit. Like we learned, for example, during COVID that working from home, it makes it so much healthier if you change your clothes even when you are working from home, and then you change back after your work day to your home clothes. And just that small ritual can really make a difference between. So maybe something like that, not changing clothes, but something could work. And definitely if you don't get enough support, because exactly supervision is there for you to get support, and if you don't get enough support, you should definitely seek more, because that's a super hard work you are doing, and you should be able to process that somewhere and get the professional support that you should. So I think the ritual and the supervision, more supervision from professional side would be my answer. And to the other question of toxic people, so I'm listening this podcast from an Australian psychologist. Let's talk about mental health. By the way, I can recommend it for anyone. And when he was talking about relationships, I really liked his approach. He said that and it can be whatever relationship, that like you should always work on on the relationship. You should not just quit, but you should figure out, you know, how to understand each other better, and how to challenge each other, and how to accept each other even when it's hard. Except if it's abusing mentally, physically, emotionally, then you get out without question. And I'm not really sure what kind of relationship what you're talking about, but I think that's a really good. So if it's not abusing, then you can, for example, go to family therapy in some way, and then you can get help, or you can just try on your own. But if you ever feel that it's crossing a line in any way, even if it's not physical, then it's just definitely an out. Yes. Yes, thank you very much. I very much agree with your comment.
Thank you very much for your comments. Just before I round this session up, there's something that I personally practice, which I call awareness. And awareness in practice for me means that I take one step out to see better, one step backward to see better. And in terms of either in relationship or psychological or kind of a mental, emotional struggles, it means that my interpretations, or what I call knowledge, or whatever it is that I know, are different impressions, informations that I have gathered all over this time that I've been at least alive. And I use them to make a kind of to interpret the reality that I am in. And these impressions that I have gathered is not me. Just like, for example, we eat and we gather the body that we have. And sometimes we think that when we say, I am Everest, we get stuck that this body is the Everest. What I mean in practice by that, it means that when you are able to take a step backward and you look at what you call yourself, you will start to see, you will get more clarity to how you see yourself, how you define yourself. Because that awareness is what eventually kind of like gives you what I would call maybe the energy to do what is necessary, either to put a full stop to something that is not coming the way you want, or either to actually take a bold step forward. But to round this session up, you've all heard the discussion from the panelists, and I want to, first of all, kind of like relate the discussion from the perspective that when you think about physical fitness, going to the gym, running, taking a walk around in the park, it's a kind of an investment that's eventually come to give you clarity and have control over your mental sanity. When you engage with when you socialize with people, friends, families, love someone, let someone love you, take from someone and be willing to give to others, it's an exercise. It might be subtle in its own, in the manner in which you carry it out, but it contributes to your, well-being. It is also the part of the thing that you do to kind of create what I call the well-being lifestyle. And then when you start to come around and you eat, one thing that I like about food is that you have a body that is going to digest that food. And I can tell you, every time you drop something in your mouth and you eat it and it goes down into your digestive tract, your body deals with it, and the result you will get, the result can come in a physical shape. The result can also come in a mental shape because, for example, when people eat certain kind of food and they start to feel that this food is not really a healthy food, they have a self-judgment for themselves that, I'm doing the wrong thing. But then that admission, that awareness that I'm doing the wrong thing is one vital step to actually trying to better what you eat. And all of this discussion brings us, when you put them together, it gives us the notion from, looking at well-being, looking at our health from a different angles where we can say, yes, we can do this, we can manage our food, we can decide what we put in our mouth, we can decide what is in the plate, and then we can take a step to engage in activities, we can clear our head of stress and just be willing to enjoy life and kind of revigorate our ability to also enjoy, every day that we are experiencing, which we call life. So I would like to thank my panelists, Kingsley, for coming to participate in this session, and also Esther for your lovely contributions, and then Ella and Jasmine for actually coming at a very kind of die minute to take this the stage. I really appreciate your contribution, and I know I can't thank you enough, but I would say thank you very much. Please, a big hand of applause.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks.
Not just run off yet. We do have some sweet, not sweet, actually some good food over there, finger food. And then, if you want to interact with some of the panelists and you want to engage them further, we have a bit, I think we still have 30 minutes, right? Okay, we have at least 30 minutes to network and socialize, so please feel free to go around and talk to people. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for today. We, as you know, we still have one more program, so you know. I see familiar faces throughout the week. We've had the opening on Saturday, and we've had other workshops throughout the week. So for you who are still here that we saw on Saturday, it's been a week. We congratulate you, and we thank you for staying with Think Africa through all the programs. We have still one more program, so as you mingle, think about that with the fact that we have an entertainment still going on. We have a performance, and we have music at Fontana. So we will give those details a little bit later before this ends. I just needed to announce that to you so you know that this is not the end of it yet. Thank you very much for coming. It's time for networking. I thank the panelists and thank everybody else here. We have snacks still there. We have coffee and tea at the back. So please don't leave yet. Have some snacks, have some tea, talk to people. And then after this, we'll tell you what to do next. Thank you so much.
My name is Mad Ice, and I'm gonna play you Sogea. Sogea is a song from my Maisha EP 2011. It's a Swahili song, it's a love song. Hope you enjoy.
Sikiliza ya ninayosema, ni machache tu ila ni muhimu. Sina pesa wala gari, nachojua tu nina upendo wa kweli. Watakudanganya, watakupa mali, watakupeleka hapa na pale. Wanachotaka ni kukuchezea, ila mwisho tu kwa wauna thamani. Oh, oh, sogea, sogea. Sogea, sogea, oh, sogea, sogea, inasema oh, sogea, wangu sogea. Maswali mengi unajiuliza, watakuonaje na mimi fukara? Kweli mimi sina pesa wala gari, nachojua tu nina upendo wa kweli. Wengi wenye pesa watakudanganya, watakupa mali, watakupeleka hapa na pale. Wanachotaka ni kukuchezea, ila mwisho tu kwa wauna thamani. Oh, oh, sogea, sogea. Oh, sogea, mami sogea. Oh, sogea, sogea. Ninasema oh, sogea, oh, sogea.
Thank you. Samuel Indrus on guitar, Jesper Eklund on percussion. My name is Mad Ice once again. Thank you very much.
Mama, the world has seen you travail. The world has seen you frail. But you are not destined to be a sad and pitiful tale. World, get ready to see Mama set sail. Mama, your majestic beauty, wildlife, and forestry never ceases to awaken our curiosity. It creates in us a longing to experience and see the sun-kissed Sahara, the astounding Mount Kilimanjaro, and so many more destinations in galore to behold and explore. Amazing people, cultures, and folklores. But more than just a magnificent destination, Mama, Africa is the people of all 54 nations. Pan-Africanists the world over, who for Mama stand. It is the foreigners in your lens that you may sometimes neglect to understand. Each African must think of Africa with pride. Let's think Africa in each and every stride. Unite, crossing the divide. On common goals, fix our eyes so Africa's great future can be realized. Whether home or abroad, let us be in one accord, playing our parts to move Africa forward. Mama, the dawn of a new day is on the horizon. Your youth are filled with tenacity and imagination. They are zealous to get the job done. Mama, your future is bright. What can you do to help Mama take flight? Indeed, your future is bright. So dance, Mama, dance, Mama, dance. Twirl, celebrate. For you, we will cooperate. You are about to give birth to some of the future leaders of the earth. So dance, smile, and hold steady. Remember, the future is Africa. Let's get ready.
Think Africa is a non-profit and non-governmental organization that was founded in 2014, and it was started by a group of students who were moved to make a change and break the stereotypes that, especially in Finland, Finnish society had of Africa and of African people, as well as support the integration of the African diaspora into the Finnish society.
When I read through the objective of the organization, it kind of aligned with my sort of advocacy and my mindset and the things that I want to see happen in African diaspora in terms of the empowerment and trying to create sustainable conditions.
So Think Africa provides a platform, and it's up to people to take advantage of that. So I've done that in multiple occasions, so relating to either employability or entrepreneurship, with leading the Slush side events we've had, and then formulating together with the team this mentorship program that we've had for a couple years now, and that has been the way that I wanted to get involved, and it's just up to each person how do you want to get involved, whether it's in these topics or other topics.
I really like Think Africa and its goals, because it brings together Africans, and there are not so many associations and entities which do that, and it is very active among Africans and in the Finnish society in general to promote Africa and give also a realistic image of Africa.
We do think about Africa. We do want to take part in its development and growth. And with this, we have activities that where we collaborate with companies who are or with companies or organizations that are involved or doing activities on the continent. And we collaborate and also take part in development there as well, and carry out projects that support the growth of especially maybe startups. We have been focusing on that, but also we want to do more in that area.
We have an African saying that if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, you go alone. And so I believe in collectivism, I believe in a bandwagon, I believe in a collective approach. So for me, to promote the diaspora and to promote Africans' conditions and status in Finland or in the host country, for me is important.
The most important and positive things that have happened to me after joining Think Africa was shifting my mindset. And due to hearing so many progress limiting conversations concerning African diasporas, I believed that as long as I'm one of them, let's say I'm African diaspora, my professional growth and career growth is limited to a certain level. But after engaging with ambitious people who are from different diverse backgrounds, I came to realize that I can do anything no matter what, no matter my background. That is one thing that I've gotten from Think Africa, the shift of my mindset.
We work very well together, although we come from very different places. So it's a perfect opportunity for people to practice their communication skills, their teamwork skills in a multicultural environment and take initiative. Especially for young people who are starting their careers now, it's a perfect opportunity to showcase what they can do as well as learn more what they can do in practice.
I would say the biggest achievement so far of Think Africa is managing to create a platform which celebrates its diversity and actually is strengthened by its diversity.
So I think one should really join Think Africa if one wants to be a member of a community which is really engaged into connecting the Finnish and African societies and the Africans here with Finland.
I would say if you haven't joined Think Africa and haven't heard about it, and if you're new and you're an African in a diaspora and you feel alone or you feel you need a possibility to connect with people, you should join Think Africa. Because first of all, we humans are relational. We need pals to deal with. We need people who can connect us, people who can build us up, people who we can empower. So, as I said, you can, as a group, as a collective, you're able to change things quicker with a much stronger impact than doing it alone. This is the time to join. Come and look for your brothers and sisters and come together, as we say in Africa, Ubuntu or Harambe.
The only requirement to become a member of Think Africa is that you are moved by our mission and want to make a positive change in your society. Go to our website www.thinkafrica.fi, click the Join Us button, pay the annual membership fee, and the Think Africa family awaits to welcome you.